Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, hello, everyone. That went quicker than normal. Welcome to Dishin Days, where we give you a full dish of this week's episodes of NBC's #1 hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. I'm your host, Tony Moore, and I'm joined by my gaggle of gals. We have somewhere on the screen, Mr.
Oh, Justin Hareld. Hey, everyone.
And of course, the lovely and beautiful.
Everybody.
There she is.
Araceli.
And Michael Mattis is still out of town, taking care of some business. So we hope that everything is going well. Michael Mattis, if you're watching, we miss you. Hurry up and come back so that way we can talk about days. Also, if I sound a little weird, the voice is a little raspy. A couple of days ago, out of nowhere, my voice went hoarse. Like all day I was fine, and then all of a sudden, and I was just like, hello. So it's starting to get a little better, but I've been like,
the weather is super dry right now.
Maybe that's what it is. I need a humidifier or something. But
yeah, like my knuckles are cracked. It's ridiculous.
I'm such a big baby though. When stuff like this happens, I'm like, this ain't, I need to fix this. How do I fix this? So, but it's fine. We are here and we are going, oh, I had some tea earlier, some green tea. We're here and we're going to give you a full recap. But before we get started, some church announcements as always. Number one, make sure you guys are following us on all social media platforms. We are Dishin Days on Facebook and Instagram, and _Dishin Days on the Twitter. The @ is still very hot here in California, trying to figure out what is going on with the lockdown and quarantine and all of that. Also, if you haven't already, you're right here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button so that way you'll never miss an episode whenever it comes out. And also, click the thumbs up button so that way we know that you like it and love it and want a whole lot more of it. And for your daytime fix, make sure you go over to JLJ Media on YouTube, where our very own James Locke Jr. is giving you the bold breakdown, GH report, and of course, Daytime Today with Tammy Govea. So make sure you go to JLJ Media on YouTube, subscribe, and follow all of his videos if you are a lover of daytime. Now, let's get into it. What did we think of this week's episodes of Days?
I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I'm so tired right now. You go first, Justin. I can't.
Wake up, Araceli. We have you for like an hour.
I cleaned my entire house. I'm tired.
So what did we think?
I loved it. It was really fast this week. I felt like every storyline was moving, and it was interesting to have like everything was sort of front burner and moving along, which is cool.
Yeah. Araceli?
I feel like we're building. It's like we're getting pieces, which is good for my mental health because I'm not sure I could handle so many explosions in the same week. But we got like explosion here, explosion there, and then we're really building in the emotionality. I was thinking back to last week when we had Mike Manning on, and he said, and he was kind of preparing us for these upcoming scenes that were coming, and then so I think we got like a teeny little taste of what's to come for next week. And so like everybody breathe, it's coming.
Yeah. I really, what I appreciated this week is that we had a chance to focus on these storylines, because like, normally there's like, it's like this storyline, but then this storyline, and then this storyline. Yeah. Like I really felt like we had a chance to really consume the information with each individual storyline, but everyone was somehow connected to it. So that's what I appreciated and what I enjoyed about this week, was just being able to kind of take it all in for a second and really like dive into the storylines. But speaking of diving in, it's that time. It's now time to start Dishin Days.
Yes.
Set it and forget it. So we're going to start with the very first storyline. Charlie, Ava, Claire, Allie, Trip, with appearances by Rafe, Nicole, Marlena, John, Steve, Kayla. I mean, it's like half the cast is involved in this. Lots of movement this week. We just I don't even know where to start with this storyline. Well, let's start here. I'm going to say this one sentence. Claire, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree, though she's processing, and I give Isabel a lot of credit because she's really taken on Claire's persona and really just the way she brought up Claire's history and really dug deep into that material. I give her a lot of credit. It was just so heartbreaking to see. No, it's not about her at the end of the day. She is not the biggest victim here.
No, and so when she was still in a tiff with Marlena about not letting her know what was happening, and then even when she heard about what was happening with Charlie, she still kind of was like, wait, but no, Charlie's not like that. Charlie is a good guy. How could you guys take away someone that I love and loves me for me? No, I'm gonna go get answers. I want to go, Claire, boo-boo. There's a bigger picture here. How about the fact that Charlie had Ava tied up in his apartment? How about the fact that Charlie is the son of Ava? How about the fact that Charlie, we know he did, but in your eyes, allegedly assaulted? And notice how they don't use rape. They use assaulted. I know. Yeah. Which for me, I'm kind of like, this is the path of kind of keeping the characters somewhat redeemable, because you also have to use that word very carefully. Yeah. And I think that when we know the full story as far as what happened, I think everything will come together and then we can really put the pieces of the puzzle together. But that was one of the things I noticed was that they kept saying assault and not rape.
And it's been revealed that we're gonna see exactly what happened, but I say call it like it is. It was rape, because I understand the word assault. It has a very broad spectrum. But an assault can be someone attacks you and tries to mug you. This was not that. This call it like it is. It was rape. She said no. It's the one thing that she's consistent on. She said no. Call it like it is.
Yeah, I'm loving Isabel in those scenes. This week she did a really, really good job. With that said, I'm also I'm getting annoyed with Claire. I was really annoyed with her this week. It was kind of like, okay, you've been on, I understand her reasoning. She has history with her mental health issues. She has issues with being sort of second choice to Sierra in the sort of Ben boyfriend department, which actually wasn't 100% true, because I felt like the issues with her relationship with Trip really wasn't about Sierra, and she wasn't in second place there. So I kind of felt like they brushed that one aside to kind of make this point. But yeah, I'm like, okay, I understand you're in love with this guy, but I'm like, you met him. I mean, a couple months ago, you've been on 3 dates with him. It was a little much. I understood it. I get it from a character standpoint, but yeah, it was you're doing a little too much here.
Well, I think the other point, and I'll play devil's advocate here, is that with Theo, she knew basically, you know, their families grew up together. They knew each other their whole lives, basically. With Trip, he was Steve's son, so maybe they may not have known each other, but they got to know each other very well. It was almost an instant trust with them because you know a family, you kind of get to know the people who grow up in those families. With Charlie, it was something brand new. He was very closed off about his family, first of all, and that I think speaks to Claire's inexperience. You know, we talked a lot about, and I brought this up with Mike Manning about, you know, Charlie's inexperience and how inexperienced really was he that he took things so far with Allie. And Claire, for all intents and purposes, is just as inexperienced because, honey, if someone's not talking about their family, if they seem to have no personal connections to anyone, that is a gigantic red flag.
I just reading some of the comments in the chat room. Dylan Matthews says, if Trip forgives anyone, I will be very annoyed.
This is right.
Annie Goen says, assault has many different meanings. Rape only means one thing, rape. A lot of people in the chat room have been saying, you know, trying to figure out the use of the word assault versus rape. I don't know if it's a
okay. So assault. The thing about the reason it's so broad is because, like, in legal terms, they have to make it broad because the way you have to make the word harassment broad. Like the word, like people have been trying to figure out what the, you know, how broad of a spectrum sexual harassment is for years, and it's the same thing with assault. I mean, like, it's the reason that Law and Order SVU has been on for over 20 freaking years is because there's so many different scenarios. But
well, they've also been on for 20 years because all the stuff that's ripped from the headlines that just writes itself onto the show, they got plenty of material when they're basing some of it on what's happening here.
Exactly.
But it's I just found Claire's reaction very interesting. There were times where I literally would sit at the TV and she would say something and I would go,
yeah, absolutely.
And even Marlena was feeling that. Like, Marlena was trying to, like, reason with her. And, like, even she was just kind of like, girl, like, just calm it down for a second.
Calm it down, think this through, yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, like, I think someone in the chat said, Colleen said, I laugh when Claire's, oh no, I'm sorry. That's not the one I wanted to read. Annie Goen was saying, I don't buy that Claire and Charlie are in love. It was way too fast. You know what I think it is? I think it's two people who are in need of something and they found it in each other. Claire is looking for someone to love her wholeheartedly, the type of person that she is. The fact that he accepted the fact that she was in a psychiatric ward and all this kind of stuff and her past and everything, she feels accepted because coming back into town, she felt like everyone was treating her like a loony bin. Yeah. And so I think to find someone who could look past that and see her, she loved that. Then you see Charlie obviously didn't have a mother that loved him, and he's seeking some kind of love in a womanly, like, figure. I don't want to say mother figure because that's nasty, but like in a, you know, he's seeking love as well. Yeah. And so then you have these two people and they go, oh, you cute. Oh, that's what I need, you know? And I think that's what Claire or Charlie don't want to get rid of. That's why she reacted the way that she did. That's why he's doing his best to try to convince everyone that, like, nope, that wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. Can I go home now? Because I'm trying to be with Claire. Because he doesn't want Claire to see him for who he is and then to not love him and lose that love. I also found it interesting, and maybe this just hit me this week, was Trip, I think, is the most hurt that Kayla didn't believe him. And
Yes.
I think this week was the first time I noticed that he was just kind of like, I'm going through these extremes because everything that Kayla and I have been through, and we got to a great place, and to have her look at me as someone who did this when I didn't, I think that didn't sit well with him.
I've been saying this for months.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
I was just because realized that Steve was gone for basically like a year after Steve left. It was in like another year that Trip was on the canvas, and he got very, very close to Kayla. She's been more of a mother to him than Ava has.
Yeah.
So of course he would feel that way.
Trevor Taylor he says, what I don't understand is why Ava wanted Charlie to follow Trip to begin with.
Oh yeah, we still haven't found. Yeah,
there's definitely still bits and pieces of the.
There's a lot of the story that still needs to be. Yeah, like Charlie and Ava still need to be sort of unpacked, so to speak. We haven't gotten a lot of their history outside of. He's a disappointment to her. She doesn't feel lovingly or motherly towards him, but we haven't really unpacked that yet.
And someone mentioned on Twitter how Rafe was questioning Charlie without an attorney. What turns out is that he didn't feel like he needed one in the beginning.
You have the right to deny yourself an attorney.
Which is what he did.
If you feel like you didn't do anything wrong.
And then when he felt like he was getting caught, he said, I need to speak to my lawyer.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, and the way that Rafe, first of all, this is what I don't understand. Why y'all keep playing all y'all cards right off the bat? I would have been like, so Charlie, is it? I don't know. Tell me a little bit about yourself, But
the way that Rafe went about his questioning, I felt like was very, very cop. I'm glad that he went that way. It was very strategic. He kind of just kept needling Charlie about little details of Ava, and like that was the first time I was like, oh, this is actually the way that you would go about it, because he got Charlie to crack that Ava doesn't like doctors.
Yeah. And he was like, right there, Ava's your
and the
mother.
fact that Ava's your mother's,
yeah. And I was like, ooh.
Who but a personal connection would know that?
Right.
Can we stop? Can Nicole take a seat somewhere? I can't really. Nicole, please, girl. I mean, I like the tenacity. No, it's funny too. I have to say this. When she stormed in, and then Charlie was like, who are you? And she said Nicole Brady, and part of me was like, "What?" I was like, "Brady," and then it like dawned on me. I was like, "Oh yeah, you're Eric Brady. Yeah, you're married to Eric." But it was just that made me chuckle. But it was just like, Nicole, girl, like I know you're sort of up in arms, but I think it'd be an interesting thing if they came at it from the point of her guilt, because remember she was the one pushing Allie a little bit to like go after Trip. So I haven't seen her apologize to Trip. We've sort of seen her take up now the crusade has shifted from Trip now to Charlie, which I get, but I would like to see them sort of focus a little bit on that, about maybe some of this is her guilt, and
she will. I think she will ultimately apologize to Trip, and I think she's gonna be like, she needs to take a seat back when it comes to the actual police work, but in terms of like her defending Ava and trying to be there for Ava, I think she's going to take up that crusade, and so that will find her in common ground with Allie and Trip, because she is basically the parental figure in Allie's life. Let's be honest. Lucas just kind of flew off the handle and just said like, you did this and blah blah. He's not been helpful here.
It's just such an energy shift of like really going after Trip and blaming Trip, and then finding out, and then she goes in there, and I would have been like, who are you, woman? Exactly. Like, I'm Nicole Brady. I'm your worst nightmare. And I was I was like, this is true, but like, let's be like Janet Jackson and give it a beat. You know what I mean? Like, let's hold the phone before we start going after Charlie. I I felt bad for Ava, because bless her heart, she didn't know what was going. She didn't know what was what you know. She's strapped and she's trying to get the trip and check and poor Kayla was just. I mean, talk about challenging your doctor's oath, where you're looking at a woman where like, I can't stand you, but I have to take care of you.
Yeah. I mean, we have to take in. I mean, it's Kayla. I think does not need to have that much sympathy for her because she's been Ava's victim more than anybody. But as an audience and anybody else, I think has to recognize that Charlie did the same thing to Ava that her dad did, and that's a whole other level of sociopathic. Like knowing he knows we know he knows she's afraid of doctors. He probably knows why, because her dad kept her drugged for years. I mean, that's that level of abuse runs so deep. So no wonder she's scared of her own son.
Brad K says Nicole feels very maternal towards Allie, which I do agree with that. Daquan says he wished that it was Sean or Eli that was police commissioner. Anthony Gollups agrees that they should have made Sean or Eli police commissioner, but remember, Sean turned it down.
A mistake, I think.
Yes. Sorry. Shout out to Patty Ray, who just came in. She's in Vegas. So hey, Patty, how you doing?
There's a lot of new people from IG. So welcome.
Yes.
Yay, welcome.
I love that Dylan Matthews mentioned that Tripp should set up a table and chair in Horton Town Square and just allow people to line up to forgive him. Trevor Taylor just mentioned this. Who is Charlie's dad? That's what I want to know. Okay, y'all, calm down, because it wasn't a beat ago that everyone was like, who the mama? And then now y'all like, who the daddy? Like, can we let the story play out first before we find out who the daddy is? Like, let's sum it down now. Yeah. There was one other thing that I thought about with this storyline. And the moment. First of all, Tripp, how you forget your phone?
Oh, yeah.
You supposed
I'm glad that they showed it. It was a nice flavor.
But when they left, I was like, "Oh, you left your phone."
Notice.
But I like that they kind of established that he's one of those people that, like, my phone is attached to me 24/7. My phone is right here. Like, my phone is always in my vicinity. So the fact that he was like, "Oh man," went back to get the phone, and then he opened the door, and there was Charlie, just looking back at him with that good skin and thick dark eyebrows, like
little brother, I'm about to beat you.
I was like, "What's up? What's up?"
Baby
brother, yeah.
I wonder. I can't wait next week to see what their moment is going to be like.
Yeah,
I think
because they already have tension with that. Because remind me, they know each other from London, but it was never revealed how
they know. No, they don't know each other. They never
know each other.
No, Tripp did not meet him. Charlie was ordered to follow him, evidently not knowing that Tripp was his brother. And I guess the way that this storyline is kind of coming to fruition, they're kind of implying something happened, something triggered Charlie, that either he found out at some point he found out that he was tailing his own brother.
Yeah.
And there's a missing piece, which we're gonna see. We've been told we're gonna see what that trigger was that made Charlie go into Allie's apartment.
Okay, remind me, what was the confrontation between them outside the Brady Club though months ago? Remember when they ran into each other?
Oh, it was just that Tripp had already been accused by Allie, and Claire went off on Tripp, and Charlie just happened
Charlie was there
and was defending his woman.
Okay, got it. I thought maybe I know they didn't know each other, but I thought maybe they had they recognized each other or something.
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's okay. It was about the root.
Patty Ray, sitting in Vegas, wants to know: Did you already talk about Charlie's chest?
His chest. Many weeks. Yes,
we have not discussed it in this state, but we will be looking forward to another peek at Charlie's chest soon, I guess.
You know us.
And that's pretty much it for that storyline. So a lot is going to continue to unravel, and I can't wait for more of the story to unfold.
The stage is set for a very emotional week this week. So everybody have your
buckle
tea,
up,
have your cocktails. We're going through it.
Well, speaking of emotional roller coasters, let's talk about Gwen, Chad, Abigail, Jen, Jack. Ooh. And Kate is also a part of this as well. I don't know about y'all, but I felt like Gwen this week was just kind of like, I don't need to put on this facade anymore.
Yeah, it was like drop the veil. Yeah,
it's like it was kind of like she was like, hello everyone, here's the real tea. Since y'all want to have conversations now, finally, I appreciated the finally, because what have I been saying for weeks? Why don't people talk to each other? Because they would have put the pieces of this puzzle together a long time ago. When Jack, Jen, and Abigail had the discussion about how, when it pertains to Jack and Jen, how Gwen was kind of saying, oh no, don't forgive her. Yes, go after her. It was kind of like, okay, why are you doing that? Then Jack figuring out the whole setup with Abigail finding the letter. Just that whole moment, I was like, yes, 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 yes. Now, the shade is Miss Gwen sitting up in there after Abigail has said, I don't want you in my house. And when Abigail was looking at Chad, notice Abigail didn't even look at Gwen.
Yeah.
Like at all. And she was like, I'm about to go out. When I come back, she need to be gone. Like she can say bye to the kids or whatever after they have breakfast, but she gotta go.
The restraint, I tell you, the restraint that Abigail showed. The more Gwen talked, my hand was twitching. I was just like, I want to grab her throat right now. It just, the more that she talked.
Listen, let me tell you, if I was Abigail coming through the catacomb and still saw Gwen sitting up in the study, I would have did this. I would have came through the catacomb and just exactly. You got to go. Like,
grab her by the hair and throw her out of the damn house.
Yes, yes. How do you guys feel about Gwen confessing to Abigail that she, in fact, slept with Chad before Chad had a chance to confess?
I have no words for the level of stupidity that Chad just keeps showing day after day, hour after hour. I'm like, dude.
And he admitted that. Like, when I love that he had the conversation with Kate. I love the relationship that he has with Kate. And kind of Kate just not going in on him, but just kind of being like, we all make mistakes. But boo, you better go tell your wife before she do, because the last thing you want to happen is for that. And I was like, Kate is so right. But unfortunately, he didn't get the opportunity to, because Gwen was like, oh, Miss Abigail, kicking folks out of the house. You want to know the real truth? I slept with your husband, and it was good.
Yeah, I think this is typical Gwen when you think about it. Like, as much as she's been able to accomplish, like we've been saying since day one, her plots are really veil thin. And again, all it takes is for a couple people to talk about it, and she's discovered. So I think we're getting that Gwen, as much as she's accomplished and as she's tried, this is not really her playhead. Like, she's done some damage, but a lot of that has been luck on her side. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, this isn't someone for the long con. You know what I mean? Yeah. This isn't an Anna. This isn't a Kate. This isn't even a Gabby. So I'm interested in what the next phase is. Like, are we going to get the reveal of why she really hates them? Because the cat's out of the bag now. You're
Yeah.
now an enemy of everyone. Enemy of Abby, of Jack and Jen. You're an enemy of Kate, Jake. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have anyone on your side now. So where are we going to go with this?
But she came in with a full deck of cards.
She did.
And
She came in with
knew-
a full plan.
And she knew her talent is, yes, I with the Jack and Kate, that was luck.
Yeah.
But everything else, she took everyone's insecurities, everyone's our problems, and all she did was twist the knife.
Yeah. Annie Goen in the chat wants to know why are we so quick to believe that Gwen and Chad slept together? Because as of right now, Annie Goen, that's what they both said. Like, here's the thing. We as fans have to stop trying to be 3 steps ahead of the storyline. Like, just be with it for a second. And then if it goes a different way, then be like, the audacity that I didn't get it right. But just kind of like, that's why we believe it, because they both said that they did it. Well, as of right now, we saw that they did it. Now, if it turns out that they didn't do it, then we'll just be surprised. But right now, they done did it. And that's what we gonna believe.
I'm glad you brought that point. I was actually gonna bring it up. Do you think that, well, technically Chad didn't say, he asked Gwen and she confirmed it. But I think they slept together. But what if, you know how sometimes soaps will do, it's not a retcon, but they'll do the whole like, this is what you didn't see aspect of it. And then they'll show us something we didn't see. So what we saw was Chad drunk out of his mind. We saw him kiss Gwen. We saw them fall on the bed. We saw the next night or the next morning him waking up, asking what happened. She says they slept together. Now, I thought they slept together, and I'm assuming that's the story, but I think they left it open-ended, and they left enough room and enough clues to go back to it, and maybe they didn't sleep together.
Maybe they didn't, but
But I'm saying this is Gwen, though, too.
Yes.
So that could be easily explained, that this is Gwen just,
But here's the other thing. When she was explaining the lovemaking to Abigail, and Abigail's face went from, oh, I don't believe you, to this heifer. Again, it's kind of like at this moment, they done did it. Now, if the show decides to go back and play this is what had happened for real, then I'll accept that. But as of right now, if I did a PowerPoint presentation, 1 + 1 = 2. 5 + 5 = 10. 3 + 3 = 6. So I'm just gonna go with that equation right now until somebody does 3x + 5 = what?
I have so much respect that you brought algebra into this.
I'm just saying. So I don't know at this moment. Like, it's so funny. Side note, I did a tweet that basically said, like, I will not tolerate disrespect, that I have always been a fan with open arms, like my opinions are my opinions, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that we always talk about so much is that like first and foremost, this is a show. This is a TV show. And we all have our opinions and things like that. And we all have to just respect our opinions and stuff. But let's not like jump ahead and be Inspector Gadget and try to figure out, like, let's hop on the ride, right? Pull the handlebars down. Let Ron and the staff just kind of take us on this roller coaster. Just be with it for a second.
Y'all who want to keep like getting like 3 months ahead in the show, you can go work for the show and figure that out. Or you need to go and watch Soul on Disney Plus, because they have this whole spiel about you need to like be in the moment. So
be
go
in
watch
the
that.
moment. So right now, what we are in, all that to say, what we are in the moment of is that Gwen and Chad done did it.
Now here's the other thing. Let's say for argument's sake, we find out down the line that it didn't happen. At this point, it doesn't matter because Abigail said it. It wasn't about love. It was about trust.
Mhm.
And the trust was not
Totally.
broken. The trust was not broken when Chad slept with Gwen. The trust was broken weeks before when Chad just continued to follow Gwen's breadcrumbs and refused to believe Abigail and Jake, no matter how many times they denied being together. That he just flat out refused.
Yeah.
So it lays on Chad. Abigail did nothing wrong here, and for him to bring up previous things, says that he has not trusted his wife in years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's
In
what
years.
and that's what Chad realized. He spoke of that when he talked to Kate, and that's what Abigail pointed out, was that like I think out of all this, like the fact that it's not the actions, as you're saying, it's the fact that you were so easily swayed into this that you never once said, no, this isn't true. You automatically believed this woman who appeared out of nowhere. You believed her over me.
Mhm.
And let's keep in mind that it wasn't Abigail who was into Stefan.
Yeah, I know. They kept bringing that, and I was like, yeah. I was
Like-
waiting for her to correct him
Mhm.
when he said that.
Like
Yeah.
it was her altar. Now, although her altar is a part of her, Abigail Devereaux Demera, I'm assuming that's her name,
Yes, yeah.
has no interest in a Stefan or a Stefan lookalike Jake.
Mm-mm.
She was able to pull herself out of all of that because of the love of Chad.
Which makes me wonder if this goes all the way back to EJ. Which, in my opinion, is laughable. It is laughable because, one, by that point they were broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Two, in that whole mess, Sammy was the one who had every right to be pissed to holy hell, and she sure
And she
got her
was.
payback.
She sure did.
And three, the reason that they broke up that time before he left town and she got with EJ for that brief period was because Chad had lied to her. Chad was the one who was being distrustful and disrespectful. So again, he gets none of my sympathy.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there is, I mean, to be fair, there is cheating or there's infidelity in their past. There's infidelity with them together
Mhm.
because she was with Ben and they cheated together, Chad and Abigail, and had Thomas. I don't think EJ should be brought up, but I think EJ makes more sense to bring up than
Yes.
Stefan does. Like at least that was Abigail. Again, it was years ago, so I don't think it should be brought up. But at least that was Abigail of her own fruition and
Mhm.
doing something of her own free will. Like the Stefan stuff just doesn't make sense to me. While it keeps getting sort of thrown in her face. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also I'm very interested in the reason why Gwen is doing this. I'm very interested in who she's connected with. I feel like because people have put out there what this is. I think that option is genius because I feel like, again, it's a nod to history, which I absolutely love that Ron and the staff connects these dots with history. And it makes us go back and go, oh,
Mhm.
that happened? And it
I don't
plays
even know
into
which
now.
one you're talking about now.
Oh, well,
She
I ain't
said
gonna say it
history.
here.
No, yeah.
But what I'm also interested in is what I'm seeing. Because what I'm trying to figure out is why does Gwen keep talking to the Stefano picture? She don't know that man. She ain't got no connection to that man. And even though she was with Jake didn't know that he had a connection. So why? There have been so many times, including this week, where she has looked at that photo and said something to that man. So what is her connection with the Stefano?
I think it's my theory I mentioned a month ago now, or a couple months ago. I think it's the Ireland connection from a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm still sticking with that. I don't know if it's true. I don't read spoilers. I don't, because that to me, the reason why, and you brought it, you're saying it, Tony. That's the connection between Gwen and Stefano possibly is the Ireland thing. That's the only thing I can think of. But again, the writers are smart. They may come up with something else. But I agree. She keeps referencing Stefano as if like,
well, she keep talking.
She's
to
a
him.
partner in crime or something, or like she's doing it for him, or like who would be proud of this, or you know what I mean? It's sort of like a weird, like co-conspirator kind of thing.
Like, you know, I know that, you know, if I was on the show and I was playing Terrence and I just so happened to have a scene in the Demare Mansion,
Terrence Vitale.
I wouldn't talk to the Stefano portrait. Like, why would I do that? I don't know that man. Like, you know, and I don't want his spirit jumping in me or like messing up my stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so like I'm not gonna talk to him.
Everybody who talks, the other point I will bring up is everybody who has talked to that portrait
has had a reason.
Well, has met Stefano.
Has a connection.
Exactly. Yeah. It has some sort
at some point. Jake doesn't even talk to him.
No, and Jake, and that's the man's daddy.
And to my knowledge, I mean, someone can correct me unless I don't think Stefan did either. At least not extensively. I think he stared at the portrait a lot, but I don't think he had like full conversations with him the way that Gwen is.
I remember.
So in our chat, John is saying she is connected to Rolf, who is connected to Stefano. Yes, but again,
Rolf didn't know her full story either until she told him.
Right. And again, that doesn't show the connection. Daquan said, laugh out loud, Tony, you would if the script requires you to talk to Stefano's portrait. Okay, now if the script calls for me to do that, I'm going to do it. However, I'm going to ask why is Terrence, why am I talking to the portrait? Like, I understand my own dialogue. You know, when they have their own dialogue where they're just trying to figure everything out. But then if I have a dialogue and it says to Stefano's portrait, I'm going to be like, why? How do I know this man?
Yeah.
Look, call me Kiki Palmer. I'm sorry. But I do not know this man.
Sorry to this man. Sorry to this portrait.
Sorry to this man. But anyways, okay, so that was fun. So that's that with that storyline. Now let's get to Lani, Eli, the twins, Valerie, Abe, Bonnie, and Justin. Let me first point this out. I found it very interesting that Days went here, which was Bonnie trying to figure out what that woman looks like.
Yes.
My God.
And when they came out, and Eli was like looking at Valerie and said, "Mom, do you have something to tell us?" I chuckled out loud.
Yeah,
I was like,
why?
But then to go back in and she's like, I don't think all Black people look alike. I just couldn't remember. So I focused on that. I literally was like a woman in church and sat back like,
okay,
this is interesting that they took it there.
Oh my God.
I like
okay,
that they
guys,
addressed it.
There's a point where like we're all pretty like open here, but I'm gonna say it. There's a point where you don't need to be PC 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I'm just like, my God.
Listen, the only other time that it really happened was when Julie took accountability for a lot of the things that were deemed kind of inappropriate and maybe semi-racist.
Now here's the thing. In that moment, I didn't understand why they did it, but because that opened the door for her to apologize to Gabby and it kicked off that other storyline, that I understood, that I was appreciative of, because she has been throwing out those one-liners at Gabby for years, and there is not enough said about the discrimination against Latinas. Sorry, my little spiel. I'm Latina. I took it personally. However, when Julie brought that up again this week, I'm like, woman, it is 2021. Y'all never heard of adoption? Interracial relationship? What is going on here?
She should be familiar with that. That's how Eli's here.
Yeah, what is it's just like this was that was unnecessary.
Well, let me tell you what else was unnecessary. And I think Trevor is with me because Trevor in the chat said, if they don't leave Dr. Rayner alone, she up in heels somewhere and here she comes kidnapping. That was my thought too. I was like, now, Dr. Rayner, you know how you felt when you did the switch at the hospital the first time and it got your job gone. Now, they paid you lovely for that. You ain't run out of that money that soon. It ain't been them but a year or two. So now you get, because she kept saying she was being blackmailed. And I'm like, about what? Does everybody know that she switched the babies?
Can someone explain that? Maybe the child, because I was like, she didn't go to jail for it.
But there's still a warrant out for her arrest.
So maybe they don't know it was her.
Yeah, because Victor.
Well, no, because Kristen and Brady had the conversation about her stealing them, so they know she's a baby napper. But
yes, they know the face, and they're gonna put 2 and 2 together next week, probably.
Based on the drawing, they
know.
Was Yvonne blackmailing her, saying that I can tell the cops where you lived? Is that what the blackmail was? Because they already know she did it. So that's what I was confused
essentially, they found her wherever she was hiding and said they would turn her into the police unless.
Listen, if I was Dr. Rayner and I got hello, Dr. Rayner, who this? This is Yvonne. I need you to do this, or we're gonna tell them where you are. No habla inglés, no Dr. Rayner here. So sorry. click. Book the next Airbnb and hit it.
Yeah. I was confused about that. I was like, what? Wait, what's the blackmail part?
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and to that point is like when she was saying, "Oh, I feel bad." I'm like, girl, please. Yeah. This is the second time you did this. You can't feel that bad if your sense of self-preservation is more important than these babies being with their parents.
Right. And so it's...
or she was smart. She would have come to Salem under the guise of doing it and then switched the tables on Yvonne, but,
Or she could have made a deal.
That's what I'm thinking.
She could have actually gotten out of the previous charges if she made a deal trying to turn this other person in.
Yeah.
And then just been like, can I go?
Yeah. Can I get full immunity on this?
I promise I'm not going to bother nobody. Just let me go.
One kidnapper for another. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But look, again, kudos to the writers for bringing Dr. Rayner in to do that, to be blackmailed, to not have it raise suspicion. Because I bet for some reason, I feel like in the writer room, they were like, who black can we get to steal these babies so that it's not suspicious? Oh, Dr. Rayner, because she already done did the baby thing.
Yeah.
So there's that. So now, it's like when Dr. Rayner opened the door and it was Yvonne, and then at the end when he was like, Madame, I was like, I also wanted to go, Vivian, honey. That woman did not kill Yo Stefan. Yo Stefan jumped in the way because you were acting a fool. Let's not forget that you're the reason why Stefan is gone, because you brought a gun to the knife fight. Like, you did all the most and the unnecessary. And then in order to save you, because it looks like you were about to shoot Lani fired. And he jumped and he died. So you have to take accountability. Now, here you go, keeping this going on. For what reason?
I did love that Vivian was at the top of Eli and Lonnie's list, though. I thought that was good. I like that they didn't just have them, not think of her or not think, who is the one person that actually could have, a quote-unquote legitimate issue with me. But even though Julie they
It always comes
cheated
back
away
to
by
Gabby.
the fact that she was dead. But I didn't think. I know people. It seemed like people were weird about Julie mentioning Gabby, but I didn't think it was that crazy that she would say Gabby. I mean,
Yeah, but Gabby has. People need to think with their heads. Motive.
Mm.
Gabby does not touch children. Let me put that out there right now. She does. She's got her own child. Now, if Gabby, God forbid, anything happened to Ariana, yeah, Gabby would go off the rails big time. But she's got her baby. She does not need anybody else's babies. Use your heads.
But again, you have to see it from Julie's point of view.
yeah, for Julie, it makes perfect sense that
Gabby-
Julie's
Gabby-
point of view is like, I hate Gabby forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
No. Because who would have thought that Gabby would be perfectly capable of going to Demira Enterprises, getting an app to control a pacemaker, and like trying to kill Julie? Like, who would have thought she was capable of that? So, of course, if I were Julie and I was going through the Rolodex of people that possibly hate us, of course I'm gonna go to Gabby.
Hate Julie, yes. Hate
But-
Lani, yes.
Yes. Hey, Eli.
Yes.
Well, not really, because
Yes.
she loved
There
him.
are people, however, don't bring kids into this. Gabby does not bring kids into it.
But we listen again. Julie was kind of like maybe, but she's still a possibility because at that point they ain't have no other possibilities. They had a long laundry list of people that they arrested, and then they had Gabby.
Yeah. I mean, to make a list, I would put Gabby on it. If I sat down and thought about it, would I take her off?
Yeah.
Possibly. But to make a list of like your grandchild just been stolen and to make a list of enemies, I put Gabby on it.
Listen,
Not
let me
that
tell
she
you.
would do it, but
Let me tell y'all, if something happened to me, Araceli, Justin, James Lott Jr., all y'all are going on a list.
Why are we on the list?
Listen, I don't know. Look, I don't know y'all's intent.
We've been plotting for you.
Whoever I
This
have
is a
come in
grand plot,
contact
me and
with.
Araceli. We got on Dishin Days to kidnap you.
This I could be living my own days of our lives right now. Y'all could be having a plot that I don't even know
Araceli,
about.
we got to switch courses. He's found us out. Where?
I don't know.
Listen, Michael Mattis, abort the mission. Abort the mission, Michael.
And Michael Mattis is at the top of the list. Go ahead and put him on there. Everybody, Tammy Govea, Chelsea Overrocker, Matthew Evan Payne, Mark J. Freak, all of them. Put all of them on the list. Check with all them first. Find out all their whereabouts.
Tony, stop before it gets real.
I
You know what I mean?
suppose.
Stop before it gets real.
I'm just saying, check with everybody. Daquan said, I wonder if I would be on Tony's list. After that comment, absolutely. check Daquan, and then also go on Twitter, check everybody I blocked for acting funny.
Yeah.
Yes, all of them.
That's funny.
But I have to give a huge kudos to Sal Stowers because she is doing such a phenomenal job with this storyline. And I actually, as much as I hate that it's another storyline that involves a baby with them, both her and Lamone are doing such a good job like portraying this. And even Lani just being like when she was sitting on the bed and she was just like, if you don't have them baby, and like was going off, and then she looked at Julie like, oh, hey, you understand I'm a mama who's babies. And every time she was like, but those are my babies.
Yeah.
My babies.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
And I'm glad that we're seeing that it's not I mean, even though the babies are kidnapped, which is awful, I'm glad that we're not seeing a storyline of like the babies really in peril. Because we know it's Yvonne has them and Dr. Rayner, but we know that their goal is not to hurt the children.
Yeah,
so,
we
like,
know
the
that.
children will be fine in terms of safety wise.
We know that.
Yeah. No, that's
she
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
know that. Like there's
No.
I have teeny little experience with this for like a few hours, but it's like your heart, like it literally feels like it's stopped when you don't know where your child is, when the child you care about is, and it's like what I can't even describe to you, like, if you've never experienced it, it's the worst feeling in the world. I would say it's worse than if your child is sick in the hospital, because at least you have eyes on the kid. And
do you have a baby?
No, I have nieces.
Oh,
And
did you?
and one time wandered.
Oh,
I can't even tell you.
I bet
the terror. It's
I-
just, oh my God. So and I say this like I really feel like it's almost, it's not better to have your child sick in the hospital, but you have eyes on them. You have the ability to say, I want this done for my child. When it's a kidnapping, when someone's lost, it's like it's like this period of highs and lows where like you're running around with your head cut off almost. Like either you go on a lead, and then, or there's a time where there's nothing to be done. It's just like, ugh.
I've only, like, the way you described that took me back to a book I read when I was younger, The Face on the Milk Carton.
Yeah.
Like reading how she was left and they couldn't find her and all that. Like, you saying that drummed up that
I mean,
for me.
you take your eyes off your child in a museum, and where like there's clear enter and exit signs, and it's just like, what is going on? I can't, like, it's like,
listen, that's why every child gets the speech, and that is, we are going into this though. Don't act like you ain't got no home training. Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing. And you better stay right by my side, because if you don't, I'm tearing that ass up when I get home. Obviously, I know the speech very well because my mother would give us that speech. And there were many times where I got home and my ass got towed up because I did not abide by the rules, but I quickly learned.
It's just, ugh.
It's
this is the reason we give Sal Stowers just so much credit, because she's not a mother. And for her to just like really dig into that feeling is beautiful to watch.
But she's someone that will go there. I remember when we were talking to her early on, and it was the hallucinogen storyline.
Yeah.
And she had to act like she was on. I remember her telling us, like, she went in the bathroom and just kind of all the lights off and really tried to put herself in that space. So if one thing we know about Sal is that she most likely did every bit of research, every bit of feeling to really know what it's like, and not just guessing what it's like, but really invoke that feeling of what it's like to have a mother just give birth to twins. They're kidnapped on top of losing a child a few years ago. Yeah. So she put all those layers on there to do what she's doing, and it's absolutely brilliant.
If she doesn't come out of this with postpartum depression, it'll be a freaking miracle.
Oh my gosh. Let's hope that when Sal practices self-care, so when she goes home, she can kind of like wash Lani away and just be Sal. But I think the storyline is it's very captivating and it's very interesting, and it's interesting to see how the pieces of the puzzle are going to come together. Going back a little bit, because I realized we forgot to mention something in the Charlie storyline, was the fact that Allie confronted Charlie.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was very bold for Allie to just be like, listen, it's just us. And I think she confronted him because she's like, I need to know.
Yeah.
Did she say rape or assault? Did you rape assault me?
I don't think she said rape.
I think she said assaulted.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
But, or maybe she just said, was it you?
Yeah, or did you attack me or something?
And of course, right when he's about to like say something, here comes dramatic Claire. Charlie!
Because she brought up, and the thing is, she brought up Henry and that was
she
the
can.
trigger point. And I mean, up until this point, Henry has just been treated like the DNA guinea pig.
Henry is living his best life.
Yeah,
Henry is not
it's
bothered.
about to get real. Like that. We have to get through all this other stuff to even get to Henry, and I feel like that's so. It's just so layered.
It's a lot
from both sides, because, like, God forbid, Charlie wriggles out of this and then wants some kind of a relationship with Henry. This is the first time I think it really clicked for him that that Henry's not just a piece of DNA, that he's actually a little tiny person who's gonna grow up. And I hope that this gets brought up.
Two things. April says, how is it that anyone can walk into the interrogation room? I think we've been asking that for years. Colleen says, mentions a story. She says, my son wandered off while at camp once. The 20 minutes of looking for him and finding him safe was the scariest moment of my life. Every scenario goes through your mind. Your heart pounds in your ears. The unknown.
It's the unknown that just it paralyzes you, but you can't like, you have to actually keep moving. You have to remind yourself, I have to not be standing still.
Exactly. Daquan also says, I don't blame Claire having a tough time accepting Charlie as a bad guy. Charlie's the only guy who chose to be with her and not Sierra. Yes, we mentioned that earlier. Patrick TV said, did you notice when Rafe was questioning Charlie, he took off his glasses for a minute?
Yeah.
I think after talking to Mike last week, Mike Manning, about the glasses, I think we all have a new perspective on it. Also, there's a lot of parents who have lost their child.
I know, everyone's sharing their story.
Yes. Megan.
His kids wander until the thing is, you have to have this conversation with the child, and there's only a certain age where they actually understand. They don't understand if, like, they go to the museum or they go to the beach. They don't understand how, like, it happens in a second.
Yeah.
Like, y'all are not bad parents. This is just children.
It
like
happens.
They see a dog down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go play with the dog. And like, oh no, don't go that far down the block.
Megan in the chat says, oh my God, I lost my son in Target when he was 4 or 5 for no longer than 10 minutes, probably less.
That's a long time.
She says, but it was the scariest, most excruciating 10 minutes of my life. And every time we go to Target, he mentions it.
And that's the worst, is like, they play it like, yeah, they will do that. They'll grow up and like, hey, like, remember that time I did this? I'm like, yeah, I think you aged me about 15 years, kid.
April mentioned that everyone is handcuffed to the chair in the interrogation room except Charlie. Because with Charlie, they didn't really have anything to hold him there. I think everyone else was officially arrested.
You can hold him. He was on a 24-hour questioning hold. He was not officially arrested because they were trying to process. They were trying to get Ava to a place where she would be coherent enough to give a statement that would stick. Without that, they had to let him go.
Side note, and I tweeted this. If Lindsay Arnold does not get nominated for a Daytime Emmy, I'm throwing a fit.
I think we're going to see, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see the best work come out of that girl.
Listen, and y'all can take this part of the video and tweet it out. Lindsay Arnold has literally came onto this show and not missed a beat. She has totally captivated us as Allie.
Yeah.
She has not only shown characteristics of Sammy, Allison Sweeney, and Lucas, Brian Datillo, but also who Allie is as her own person. And every time she's in a scene, it's just like the girl is talented. And like, I was just like, Like I literally was watching the show this week and I tweeted as soon as I saw her scene with Charlie, I was like, if this girl does not get nominated for a daytime Emmy, period. Like,
and you know what makes it that much more remarkable is that we've had opinions for years about Sammy's children because of their storied history. But Allie was sort of, as a child, the forgotten child. There was so much drama around Sydney and Johnny, and Will grew up before our eyes, that Allie was kind of the forgotten child. You know, she didn't have really kind of any type of character for us to hang on to. So basically, Lindsay Arnold came onto the scene and just created Allie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and stepped into it. Like I feel like there are so few people that I can think of who, well, no, there's quite a few people that I can think of who came onto the show as new characters, and like instantly I was like, yep, you get it. Paige Searcy, who played Jade, is one of them. Greg Rickard as Leo is another. Victoria Konefel, when she came in as the replacement Sierra, I was like, the second she took that helmet off and did like this,
that's
I was
Bo's
like,
daughter.
Yeah,
That's Sierra. That is Bo's daughter.
And now, Lindsay Arnold. I think those people, and these are people that are just right off the top of the dome. I know there's been like a lot of people who've come in, but right off the top, my top list of people, those people literally came in day one, nailed it. And I was like, I believe you, I'm with you. I don't have to take a second to like warm up. You just are.
Lindsay also, like, from a character standpoint, she hasn't had like a day of rest. Like,
no.
From day one, it was the conflict with Sammy that led into the baby, that led into the rape story. So it's like she hasn't. Everything has been conflict with her. Every storyline, every day on set, all her scenes, they're all about conflict. Like the only joy we've seen her have or a smile is in the scenes with Claire where she's bonding.
Where she's having a kiki and spilling tea.
And that's it. Everything else has been just heavy. So,
and you know what? The other thing that I really appreciate is that though Allie is related to everybody and everybody comes to her aid, she's really, it's almost like she's grown up from the second that she came onto the canvas, where she is just handling things very, very well. I know that we didn't think so in the beginning, but we didn't know what she was struggling with. And it's like, I feel like if Sammy were here, she would take over the whole thing. But the beauty of Allie being with Nicole right now is that Nicole is letting Allie handle her emotions the way that she needs to. She is letting her come to terms with all of her trauma in her own time. And unfortunately, if Sammy were here, Sammy just has a tendency to make it all about her.
Interesting question that Me World has. Who do you think should be the perfect actor to play opposite Lindsay Arnold as her fraternal twin, Johnny DeMera? And what's interesting is that when I read that, the first person I actually thought of, if he wasn't already on the show, would have been Mike Manning.
I know. I thought that too when he first like, oh, he would have made a good Johnny. He would have made a perfect Johnny. And I think they would have really balanced each other. But,
and we all thought for the longest time that whenever one of Sammy's kids would come back, it would be Johnny.
Johnny's over in Europe like, listen, I see what's going on in Salem. I'm gonna stay over here. I'll be all right. All right, so those were our top storylines. Listen, as a quick reminder before we go into tidbits and our segments, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. I hope you guys have been enjoying our recap thus far. If you are new with us and you are discovering us, I hope you've been having a good time. But now, to show your support, please make sure you just hit the subscribe button so that way you can see more of our videos. We have interviews, red carpet interviews, in-studio interviews, Zoom interviews with a lot of your favorite stars from Days of Our Lives. So click that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button on this video, and just show your support. That's the easiest way you can show your support. And also follow us on all social media platforms, Dishin Days on Facebook and Instagram, and _Dishin Days on the Twitter. Now moving on to our tidbits, we have Philip, Brady, Chloe, Xander. I just love the fact that Chloe was like, Brady, this is what's going down. Him laundering money through Titan, like help him, and Philip was still trying to weave out of it, like, no, Chloe's crazy. Chloe looked at him like, I'm not crazy, okay, yeah. Brady. But I like that there was this moment of Philip just being like, he's never liked me, and Brady is like, and Chloe mentioning, y'all's fights have been about me. We're past that. Like, yeah. So I like that moment of like coming together. I actually like the fact that someone has now come in to help Philip, because let's be honest, it's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
So someone needs to come to the rescue. And the other sad thing is, I was with him in the beginning, but now I was just kind of like, but I hope there's a turn. When Xander made the discovery of everything and threw it in Philip's face, there was a part of me that wanted to go, I kind of want you to help him out, because I want you guys to build this family unit and not be so divisive.
I don't care to see Xander and Philip be buddy, because it's just, that would be, to me, would be ridiculous. However, I really appreciated the fact that Xander said, I haven't told Victor yet because I actually care about him. And if you haven't noticed, because you've been too selfish and wrapped up in your own stuff, he's not in well health. I'm glad that he said that. It just shows, I know people like pick on Xander for past things, but you know what? Xander has grown tremendously. And truly, he's the only one who's really cared about Victor for Victor, and has truly cared about Titan for Titan. With Brady and Philip never really seemed to care about the company, building it up as much when it always hinged on Victor's approval. Though Xander was in the same boat, it just feels different. It feels like, I don't know, maybe because they were partners in crime this past year. It just feels different. It feels like Xander really wants to protect Victor.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think Xander's made a turn, but internally, he also has to remember, it hasn't been that long, and he hasn't, what I mean?
He has impulses, but that's why Sarah's there.
Yeah, but I sort of agreed with Philip. It was kind of like, listen, if I'm killed, Victor will hate you, like, regardless of how great you are for this company. Like, if, I end up dead because of this, and my father finds out that you knew about this, like, you're going down too, essentially. Like, we're both dead, essentially. So, yeah, I like the idea of Xander helping, even if he helps him just to turn around and say, I'm going to get you out of this mess because Titan doesn't need to be involved in this.
Yeah.
I thought he was being a tad bit naive when he was like, what did he disassembled the shell company, and then it was like, it's your problem now. I was like, no, it doesn't really work like that. Like, the mob is just going to come after you for the money. You know what I mean? Even if Philip's not in the picture, whether they kill him or not, but like, now you're holding the cards essentially on their money. So they're going to come after you if they can't get to Philip, or even if they can get to Philip. Yeah, I think there's some coming. Hopefully there'll be some coming together. Sort of maybe Kyriakis against Vitaly, maybe.
I'm hoping for that.
That to me would be very interesting, because that would be like a war that we haven't kind of seen. It would almost bring it back to the 80s when the Kyriakis family first appeared on the scene, because remember, Victor did not build his business as a legitimate businessman.
They were in the mob, yeah.
Yeah, he later turned things around. So that would bring it back to the 80s, which would be a fantastic callback.
Side note, did anyone else get tickled at the fact that Xander was like calling for Charlie and then found out that he was arrested for kidnapping and then was like, our Charlie?
Yeah,
like Charlie.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I like that moment. So that was that. We'll see how that story continues to unfold. And then there was a little moment with Kate and Abe. Kate had like a lot of conversations with people, Chad being one of them, which we talked about earlier. But there was like that little moment with Kate and Abe.
Yeah.
I didn't get romantic. I got more friendship, as in like Abe could use a friend, and Kate is sort of filling that role now.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the scene. I don't know if it was this week or last week. The scene with Abe and Roman. I appreciate it. I was like, oh, finally, like the actual best friends get to like have a scene together, have a conversation, and they're using Roman correctly in that sense. So I thought it was sweet. Yeah.
People need to give Kate her due as a friend, and I'm just like Kate summed it up best. What did she say? She was like, she said something to the effect of like, I know, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm awesome. You're welcome.
Right. All right. Well, that was your week of days. And now, oh my gosh, that moment where you're like, I'm pretty sure I had everything prepared.
Yeah, set up.
No idea where everything went. It is now time for our favorite part of the show, which are our segments. And we're going to start with mine, which is Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap. Okay, hold up. Oh boy. Where technology people. Now I know how Michael Mattis feels. Trying to get all this stuff together. Like, where did y'all go? Okay, wait, hold on. Please forgive me, everyone, because this is my first time. Okay, here we go. All right, so. All right, we'll start with mine, which is Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap. All right, so y'all listen. Sometimes there are moments where I feel like Days is very authentic to the real life experience. And when I saw Lani awake from her nightmare in her perfectly wrapped up hair because she has braids, and as a Black woman, you have to protect those braids while you are asleep, I was like, yes, Days people, y'all better make sure Lani's braids are wrapped up tight so that way when they fall down, when she gets dressed, they still look good. So to Sal Stowers and the wardrobe department for making sure that you show that a Black woman with braids will not go to bed without wrapping her hair up properly. You get Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap. All right.
I have to say, I cackled when she sprung up. I was like, wait, what is her hair wrapped? I was like, it was a moment.
I was like, it absolutely should be.
And the colors are beautiful.
Yes, like her whole nighttime look looks amazing. She looks amazing. Like if she had woke up and like her hair was just in a bun, I think we would have said, oh.
Now listen, next week we need Eli in a do-rag waking up. We need waves. Keep them waves tight.
I cannot.
Yeah.
If we can just down the line, once we get these kids back, and they grow up a little, talk about how hard it is to braid 2 toddlers' hairs.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know how hard it is to deal with the 2 babies' hairs? Whew.
Well, they can each have one. We don't have a caption that because Michael Mattis is still out, but we do have those were the days.
This week's segment of Those Were the Days, we have Charlie and Trip. And aka brothers at arms now over sexual assault. It got me thinking. There's been a lot of talk about these two finally coming together, what their relationship is going to be, and also, is Charlie a redeemable character? This brought me back to now. This is maybe this not the second. Actually, there's been a couple different other storylines revolving sexual assault, but the one I'm going to reference is now the one between Jack and Steve and Kayla's sexual assault. And even though the circumstances are different, Jack was married to Kayla, she was in love with Steve. You know, it put Jack and Steve sort of at arm's length. But again, we did get a redemption storyline for Jack that was cultivated. There was a lot of time and thought put into that. So there is precedence for this idea of a rapist being redeemed. We've also seen it on a sort of different scale with both EJ and Sammy. So there's some precedent there. But when I saw them two and saw sort of their conflict, it really reminded me of Jack and Steve. And I wonder if that storyline is gonna. We've had it referenced with Kayla, but I wonder if it's gonna be more of an issue with Trip and Steve, if it's gonna get brought up there, or maybe even Jack and Trip, because that is his nephew. So I'm wondering how they're going to incorporate that, if they're going to incorporate it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And those were the days. I still can't believe I kind of got up there, even though like my voice is a complete hot mess. And now we have It's a Gift, but hold on for the gift, because it's coming somewhere, somehow. Hold on, Araceli. I got you, girl, I promise. Okay, here we go. And yep, boom. There we go.
Okay, so we have to give Marcy Miller her due, because again, I kept thinking, oh, the restraint that she did. And then she just put like all her weight into that slap. At least it looked like it. And the other thing I'm thinking about, and I will pass this on to our audience as well. Y'all, you have to pay for a stunt coordinator for the tiniest little thing. You shove someone like a love tap kind of a thing, and you got to pay for that stunt coordinator. This, I believe, is the reason we don't get as many fights on daytime anymore. And also the way that she put her weight into that, someone could accidentally go into the hospital if you're not careful. Well, so, the amount of time I think this took to coordinate was very carefully done, because no one can go into the hospital right now. So, which is why you can't go in there right now. So I give these two actresses their due, because it looked like she put all her weight into it, and hopefully like nobody actually felt that afterwards, but it looked fantastic.
Well, listen, Marcy Miller is no stranger to the walk and slap. Let's not forget when she was getting married and Ben showed up and she looked at him and she marched and she went. Yeah. So there's that.
That's one of the best weddings ever for that alone.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and now it's time for some news and gossip.
Yes.
I think. There we go.
Great. For news and gossip, we have a couple of new projects for some ex and current day stars. First, we're going to start with Kristen Alfonso, ex Hope Williams-Brady from Days. Kristen will star in Lifetime's adaptation of B.C. Andrews' Landry Saga. It's a 4-movie, 8-hour, 2-weekend event. It will kick off with the book Ruby, based on the first book in the best-selling series, starting on March 20th, concluding the following weekend on Sunday, March 28th. A synopsis: Alfonso stars as Gladys Tate, the mother of Ruby's childhood sweetheart, who will move heaven and earth to keep the two apart. So please check out Kristen Alfonso in the Landry Saga, starting with Ruby on Saturday, March 20th. Next one we have is ex-Chad, Casey Diedrich. will actually start in Hulu and Blumhouse's Tentacles. Tentacles is the latest installment from the horror franchise Into the Dark. Synopsis: in Tentacles, couples Tara and Sam Diedrich will head over heels in a new romance and entwine their lives until their intimacy transforms into something terrifying. You can check out Casey Diedrich in Tentacles on Hulu February 12th. And another reminder, we have Lamone Archie, our very own Eli Grant. He'll be reprising his recurring role on the next season of CW's All-American as Superintendent D'Angelo Carter. You can check him out starting actually tomorrow, January 18th on the CW. Check your local list. Last but not least, we have Spectrum Celebrity Events just announced an upcoming virtual Q&A, including one with Mike Manning, Charlie on Days on February 27th. Other Q&As include Ben Lewis from Arrow and Cameron Grimes from The Young and the Restless. For tickets, visit spectrumcelebrityevents.com to get some more information there.
Yeah, I would have had that picture up, but apparently it did not come up.
Yeah,
so
Christian
that has,
Alfonso looks bad,
Looks-
but that made me she looks good.
Yeah, she looks
And if you've ever
good.
seen the VC Andrews movies on Lifetime, I mean they're creepy as hell.
well,
I think it'd be a good project for her.
Yeah.
I'm just very glad that she is continuing to do stuff after Days. So that I greatly appreciate.
Do you guys remember when she first left Days, when they killed Hope originally? She was on Melrose Place. Do you guys remember that back in the day? Do you guys watch Melrose Place?
Mm-mm.
But yeah, she had like a big arc on Melrose Place, and she was sort of she was like a villain, I think she played. She was like a prostitute too, I think, back then. Yeah, it was just interesting because it was a nice contrast to playing like good girl Hope.
I love
yeah.
when Christian Alfonso plays a villain. Like the times that she's played a villain on Days, I loved them.
Yeah, so
Yes.
getting work and staying occupied and busy.
Me too. All right, so now, y'all, it is that time for you to see what is coming up next week on Days of Our Lives. So here's a quick promo of what you will see next week.
The moments
There's unfinished business between the two of us.
and the answers
Have you thought about maybe using hypnosis?
To get my memories back?
you've been waiting for.
Why does Gwen hate me so much? Maybe it's time you knew.
They're coming.
Yes, come on, we're finally getting answers.
It's all busting open this week.
Finally, it's like we have all the questions and now we're finally getting answers. I love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not
Any
loving
work,
that Gabby
any work.
though and Stefan thing. I'm like, I'm hoping that's a red fake out maybe. I'm just like move them on. I'm not interested in Gabby, a revisit of Gabby and Stefan. I mean, not Stefan, got Gabby and Jake now that we've got Kate and Jake.
But that misstep that you just said just proves the point.
But also you have to keep in mind that Gabby is stuck in a certain
It's true,
realm
yeah.
of Jake. So
Yeah.
it's going to make for a lovely little triangle for a second. But real quick, just so we can document it, Jake, are we team Kate or team Gabby? Justin?
Oh, Kate all the way.
Kate.
Araceli?
Kate.
Three for Kate. 3 for Kate.
Which is really interesting and really speaks to the level of Brandon Barash's acting that, you know, he's playing these two different characters and has chemistry with both ladies. So
I wouldn't have said that months ago either. I wouldn't have said
Yeah.
Jake and Kate. I would have said the opposite. Yeah. So it's
This is
interesting
true.
how, their chemistry is.
We'll see what happens when you get on the roller coaster and you pull down the handlebars and then you let the writers just kind of guide you. And I do know that there are some Stabby fans, not no shade towards y'all, or like Jake and Gabby fans. I understand that, but we're just here for the ride. That's it. All right. Well, that has been our show. Thank you so much for always tuning in. But before we head out, Justin, let the kind folks know where they can find you on the social medias.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Justin Lee Hareld.
And Araceli?
You can find me on Twitter at Tia323 Araceli.
And you can find all of us at Dishin Days on Facebook and Instagram and _ Dishin Days on the Twitter. And you can find little old chocolate me at Lounging with Tony on all social media platforms. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another full dish of next week's episodes of NBC's #1 hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe, be well, and wear your mask. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.